So, Bono, it seems like there's two things going on. I mean, there's long-term solutions and there's short-term immediate crisis that have to be dealt with.
That's for sure. And, you know, the short-term crisis is better informed when we listen to the people on the ground, as you are. Working with the Somali diaspora, for instance, we found very informative at the One campaign. And yes, we need money, we need cash, but also it would be foolish to make simple this situation. We also need safe passage for that food and shelter. So there is a security dimension, as you well know. As to the long-term stuff, we know exactly what to do with droughts. Droughts are, you can blame droughts on God, but famines are man-made. We know exactly what to do, and this shouldn't be happening.
Yeah, I mean, there are programs, Bono, which are working very effectively, U.S.-backed programs, other countries backing them, agriculture programs operating right now in Kenya and in Ethiopia, areas which are also hit by drought but are able to bounce back because of these effective long-term agriculture programs, better seeds, better use of fertilizers.
Exactly. For instance, in Ethiopia, in Tigray, which was so hard hit by the famine in the mid-80s, they have reforested, and there's great programs there. In Ethiopia, you have the safety net program, which has protected about 7 million lives. I mean, actually, we really do know what to do. Gates Foundation doing incredible work on these seed varietals, as you just mentioned. Even this FuseNet, which tells us when a famine or a drought is approaching. You know, there's early warning systems, and that's all very inspiring. What must be really just getting to you is the despair of people caught in a conflict. This, in the end, is a civil war. It always is. You know, it was in Ethiopia before, and that's what makes it so tricky. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't serve these people. They're astonishing people, as you found out. The Somalis are very sophisticated people, and for 20 years now, they've had no real government. I don't know how they've survived, but the famine is really the wake-up call for all of us.
Kaynaan, I think you left, I think in '91 it was, on one of the last commercial flights out. For you, what's it like, you know, to see the pictures of what's happening here, to know this country so well, and to know its people and to see what's happening to them?
Well, I mean, it's very difficult for me. It's very difficult for any Somali to be feeling this immense, urgent situation and to not be able to do much from afar. But what we are trying to do is shed light on a little bit of the Somali people, because we are, in fact, you know, some of the more innovative and capable people on this planet. We come from an ancient tradition of survivalists, of people who have contributed immense wealth to the world. And at this moment, it's very difficult to see these images and to see this loss of the great dignity that we Somali people have carried ourselves with for such a long time. And you know, it's as if we have made you know, a pillow and a blanket out of war. But I feel like Bono said, you know, this famine is our wake-up call, and we're doing everything we can to change this situation.
You know, Kaynaan, I think and I've heard on Twitter from a lot of folks who, you know, their image of Somalia, I think, was born in '91 and '92, the famine then, and what happened with Operation Restore Hope, and when the humanitarian effort ended up getting bogged down in a hunt for a Somali warlord, U.S. troops were killed. There's a lot of people, I think, who kind of feel like, you know what, we tried to help Somalia 20 years ago. Why, you know, why now, if they're in the same situation, why should people be donating money? What do you say to people about this place, about the people here, and about you know, the need for aid here?
Well, I think first of all, there is a globalized community right now, and the world is interconnected. We can't escape that, but we have to somehow find a way to globalize our humanity. This is a new world that we're living in, and I think that you're right because of the images of the past, because of the famines of old, because of Black Hawk Down and the negative stories of piracy that's come out of Somalia, I think people have created a psychological fence around their hearts where Somalia is concerned. We have to find a way to get past that and look at the humanity of what is happening and help people who are in need of our help at this moment. We are not usually the sort of people who take the victim's seat. We are people who stand up for ourselves. But it's a very, very dire situation. No Somali is proud of what is happening today, but we are extending our hand out in hope to the world that they see the situation and help us fix that which we will then kind of hone in and change our own destiny.
Bono, I was at a hospital today in Mogadishu, and I mean, there are kids dying. You know, tens of thousands of children have already died in the last few weeks, the last few months. Many more are likely to die unless more aid, more money gets in the pipeline. They need $2 billion. I think they've only had $1 billion actually sent, so there's a big shortfall. And at this hospital, which is in Mogadishu, it's a major hospital, a big children's ward, they hardly had any medicine. They hardly had the equipment, the supplies they needed to treat these children. It's stunning when you see that up close, the results of what happens when there isn't the attention and there isn't the aid.
It is shocking. It is disgusting. And I've seen those faces myself up close. I've seen that loss of life. And I saw Sangay's report earlier today from the hospital where he explained that the World Food Programme will run out of food in 3 weeks. It's hard to believe that this is the 21st century. And, you know, we mustn't let the complexity of the situation absolve us from responsibility to act. That's really the message. That's why we're so pleased that you're there and CNN are there. You have to make this a priority. You see in the Security Council people staying late at night, as they should, to discuss what's going on in Libya and Syria and the like, because hundreds, indeed thousands of lives are being lost there. Here there's 12 million people over 3 countries. Eritrea probably make it the 4th. This is a huge strategic import for us in the whole Horn of Africa, and we need to make this a priority. By calling it a famine and pictures of starving kids, people kick it down the corridor, and what we need to do is say to the Secretary General, and we will, and I know he will hear and care, this has to be a priority now. And I think that if we make a safe passage for aid, I do believe the aid will be through. We've been disappointed by the French, but I'm sure they will come through. The German people have I think, contributed 100 million themselves. We expect 100 million from the German government. We will, our organization, what we do in the capitals of Europe as well as your own capital is we, you know, hold those politicians that make promises accountable, and that's my job, and that's what the job of everyone who signs up for the One campaign is doing. So I think we'll get the money there if we just keep pushing. But I really want to stress that the safe passage for that food and shelter is critical, and there needs to be an emergency meeting, a peace conference of some kind. I think bringing in some extra peacekeepers from much more neutral areas than Uganda might also be helpful. From Indonesia, you know, it'd be wonderful to see what the UN can do. This is why the UN was set up.
They've been asking the Ugandan force, the AU forces here, there's 9,000 of them, as well as from Burundi. They would like there to be 20,000 total. They want 11,000 more troops. The UN has not yet agreed to that. The Security Council hasn't agreed to that. But there is a real opportunity here in Mogadishu with al-Shabaab leaving to really try to have some progress here in Mogadishu and, as you said, establish safe corridors to get food to some of these areas. I guess for me, the thing, Bono, that I keep thinking about is, you know, you hear 500,000 children are on the brink of starvation. You hear 600,000 children on the, you know, at risk of starvation. And those numbers, you know, they're so big, they almost don't seem real. And we start to think, oh, this is just a normal thing. But I mean, I feel like that should be a headline in every paper, on every newscast, every day while this is going on. 600,000 children at risk of starvation, on the brink of starvation, is a catastrophe.
Look, 30,000 of them have died in the last few months. And it's true, you know, people seem to prefer watching, you know, people in the high streets of London fight policemen rather than watching children of Somalia fighting for their lives. People watch the values, you know, stock values crumble, while, you know, I think about our own sense of values tumbling, because this will define who we are. This is a defining moment for us, and there's lots to distract us, and there's serious issues, people's livelihoods, you know, not to dismiss the hardships that are happening in the Western world. But I have 4 children, and there is nothing that could come close. Not being in my band, not losing my house, not losing my anything, but to lose your children. And these people are so elegant and so refined, and their sense of family is so important, that when you hear stories, and as you've reported, of women leaving their dead children on the road to come beg for food, to choose between children. Can you imagine? I have to leave this one. He looks the weakest, or she looks the weakest. I'll take this one. This is outrageous. This is just, it can't be happening. It must be stopped. And, you know, it's not our intentions, it's our actions. It's not the possibilities of the United Nations or the AU. It's our priorities that define us. This is a defining moment, Anderson.
It certainly is. At this hospital I was at today, there was a mother and a father sitting on a bed silently, and we went up to them and realized that between them was their dead child, Ali, a 1-year-old child. It was the last child they had. They had already lost 2 of their other children on the road to Mogadishu. They had no more kids, and they were sitting there for hours because they had no money to bury their child with. And that is the indignity that so many people are facing right now. Bono, thank you so much for being with us, and Kaynaan as well. I know you're hoping to go to the refugee camp, Dadaab. I hope you make it there, and thanks for all your efforts.
Absolutely.
And thank you, and we wish you safety there and all the crew. We really appreciate your work, Anderson. Thanks once again. And thank you, Kaynaan.